Do, 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 do. You ain't shit for watching. Yeah, that happened. Nah, uh, welcome to another episode of You Ain't Shit for Watching. Um, this is a different kind of broadcast than what normally is. Normally come on, shoot the shit, have conversations and whatnot. Um, but in this particular case, um, I'm actually rehashing a story. A buddy of mine, um, one I've known since I was a kid, um, has been going through a custody dispute, in which he posted it online. I ended up getting more information from talking to him. Um, he has a GoFundMe page up where he is trying to get custody of his niece. So um, I brought him to the Manosphere. Originally, he popped on Roger's channel and he told his story there, which he's going to do again here. For those who are new to the story, new channel, new everything, right? So, and he's also going to come with the conclusion of the story because he did have a court battle. But I'm going to let him have uh, really the floor with that story. So I don't want to, ruin it. I want him to tell from the horse's mouth, right? Um, but this is a good dude. Um, the title of the show is "She Needs a Father." I see it all too often. Oh, you know what? He's here. Hey, what's going on? I'm just doing an intro real quick. Born to Reign is on the show. This is the man that we actually talking about, the man in question. Uh, I'm gonna mute you real quick so because I can hear your background. Can you
Sounds
hear me?
good. Yep.
All right, cool. But again, yeah. So this is Born to Reign. Um, like I was saying, kids need fathers. If they don't have fathers, at the very least, they need a father figure. They need a protector. They need someone that is down to ensure that they grow up in a proper dynamic and household. It's all too often that we see, especially on social media, in the news, where Black women in particular say things like they don't feel protected. We aren't protected. It's crazy. Black women aren't really protected like that, right? That was Megan Thee Stallion. And that's just blatantly not true. It's false. It's a lie. It's a story that these women came up with in order to push a narrative, maybe push some propaganda. Because right here, we have a Black man who is out here protecting Black women. Um, so I do want to welcome you to the show, Born to Reign. Pop on in. How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Oh yeah. Much obliged, much appreciated. Um, I think you got something playing in the background. I can hear the echo.
Oh man, you know what? Let me try adjusting something real quick.
I. Hey, much better. Sound well. Oh, you on mute? That's why. But yeah. So this is a Black man who is protecting the community, who's helping his community. Now, little background on him. He's a pastor. He's a youth pastor, if I'm not mistaken. Church kid, grew up in a churchy household. Um, and this brother was dedicated because when he told me this, he originally told me this story. I more or less told him, I was like, this don't look good. Uh, and you kept driving until you got the outcome that you wanted. So, um, let's do this. Why don't you tell me this? Because I remember meeting your niece when she first came around with her. When was that? How old, I guess, were we at the time? 'Cause we ain't even saying no. How old were we at the time? How long did you know us? Let's start from there and then we'll build up, right?
All right. I'd say it was about 2004, which puts you and me at about the age of 17, and
Yeah.
that would have been the year that my niece was born.
Okay. So you met her right when she was born. Okay, she was a baby. I don't remember her being in
That's
Pampers,
right.
but niggas getting old. So
Right.
how did you come around Celia? Because we gonna talk it out, right? How did you come to know
Right.
Celia?
Well, the way I came to know my niece is that my brother, oldest brother, he had began dating Salea's mother right at the end of high school. I mean, we're uh, we're right at prom, and then right after prom is the graduation ceremony. So it's right in between the mix of all that, that my oldest brother started dating her mother. Shortly after we graduate, which puts it about June 2004, then my niece's mom moves in with my older brother, and mind you, we all live together. Me, my siblings, my parents, we all live together. So my niece's mom moves in with us, and obviously has my niece with her as an infant, maybe 3 months old tops, no more than 4 months old, and that's the beginning stage of how my niece came into our life. And then, did you want me to continue on from there with the narrative?
My bad. I hit the button and yeah. But anyway, sorry. So let me get this straight. This nigga, your brother, this nigga was dating her while she was pregnant.
No, so my niece was already born at this time, maybe a month old.
So she, dang. Okay. So this nigga, wow. I didn't know the thirst was like that. All right. So um, Celia came to live with you
Right.
along with her mother, right? And then in this time frame,
Yes.
eventually your brother would
Yes.
get married to her. They had the oldest boy, uh, and then what after
Yep.
kid three, it was kid three they got divorced, right?
Yep.
So
That's right.
uh,
Kid three plus my oldest niece. That's four total. Yep.
right, so your brother essentially moved out of the house, um, leaving. Was Shantae there, or was the mother there? Was Celia there at the time, or were they living elsewhere after they separated?
I
Was that hello, hello, hello?
uh,
Can you hear me? All right, folks, we having technical difficulties. I think he's driving through the boondocks.
during the separation, my testing. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better. All right, during the separation.
How
Now what?
about
Now?
now?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. So during the separation, my brother was already out the house, and so was my niece's mom. So they got separated, living on their own, and it's not like they had been out for years, just a short time. Um, After the separation, I'm talking a month after the divorce was finalized, then my niece comes to live with us permanently.
Okay, so 1 month after the divorce was finalized, your niece came to live with you, her uncle, her grandmother, grandfather, and your siblings when you guys lived in the house, right? And where was her mother at? Back to the issues. So it's my understanding that um, um, I really don't want to use her name, but to be honest with you, I don't really give a fuck, and I don't even think that's her real government name, right? So it's my understanding that, and you chime in whenever you get the ability to talk again, because I know you have connection issues. Um, but it's my understanding that, well, yeah, he popped off. That when the divorce was finalized, the mom, Shantae, she basically up found a new nigga, and pretty much pawned her kids off to the dad's family. Now his older brother, um, not a responsible dude, got up, kind of left. So the duty of raising his brother's kids fell on Born to Reign. At this point, I'm really waiting for him to pop back on so he can give us the rest of the details of the story. But Born to Reign, a man with no children, uh, raised his brother's kids from the ages of I want to say like 7 to I think 16 to when all this started taking place. So we are waiting for him to come back so he can tell the rest of the story, and we kind of go from there. Here we go. It's the Roger Report. What's popping?
Man, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
It's good. Yeah, you sound like you in the toilet. You in the toilet?
No, but you know what? I was supposed to take this off while you start. Hold on 1 second.
All right. All right, Rain. So we got you back.
Okay,
remember
that's better now. I got Wi-Fi now, so I'm gonna be good.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a win. All right, yeah. So we got Roger in the building. You remember Roger actually went on his show before.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me in the past.
Oh, you're very welcome, sir. Glad to. Well, I'm gonna let you tell the story, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here, though.
So I tried to fill in the gap because you disappeared. We got to fill the void of the airtime. Let me see if I understood this correctly. When Shantae divorced your brother, the divorce was finalized. Shantae sent her kids, your brother's kids, to go live with you and your parents at the time, right? Because you were still, what, 2019? And you, at a certain point, you basically raised all of Shantae's kids. Is that right?
That is right. And just to add a little context to it, my brother had actually won custody during the divorce. And that was mainly because my niece's mom was suicidal, and the judge had caught wind of that and didn't have a place to stay, didn't have employment. So my brother actually had custody of all the kids except my niece because that's his stepdaughter and not his blood daughter. And so we already had the ones that are blood related to me. And my niece's mom sent my niece then at that point to live with us as well because we already had the other kids.
Okay. So you had them all. So she sent the kids over there. Now,
Yeah.
let's run this. Where did your brother go?
I couldn't tell you to this day, but you know what? From what I've learned over the years, he was just hopping around through different girls' apartments, from what I understand.
So he basically left you to raise his kids, even though he won them in the custody battle.
Exactly. He won custody and still dropped them off where I was the father figure, my mother was the mother figure, and that's how they grew up as far as that parental role. I was father, uncle, and my mom was grandmother, mother.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit, right? Um, Shantae kept having families and built getting more kids and everything else. You raised Celia up to be, was she 16 at the start of this?
Yeah, when this whole dramatic thing started, she was 16 years old.
Okay, so she was 16. Why don't you give me the setup to the story of her being a 16-year-old and the apartment, and kind of walk us in there, and run it that way.
Okay, so basically the foundation's already been laid since 2009. I had my niece, in my home and under my care. Fast forwarding all the way from 2009 to 2020. The
Hmm.
2020, my niece turned 16 years old. She had only been with her mom prior to her turning 16, maybe for a partial year, and that would have been 2000, the end of 2012 to the beginning of 2014. That would have been the only time in that time span I just mentioned where she had actually lived with her mom and then again came back to live with us. So now she's 16. It's 2020. She's 16. Um, she still doesn't live with her mom. I'm still raising her. I'm still fighting for her an independent education plan, which is the IEP at school. I'm still taking her to her doctor's appointments, her dentist appointments, doing everything that a parent does for the child, the entire role. And her mom, Shantae, is in a domestic violent relationship. It's nothing new. She had been in and out of the same relationship, 100 different guys, uh, pregnant left and right. She had what, two, three more kids since the ones that she had with my brother. She's had 2 or 3 more kids. It's just the same repeated pattern, repeated pattern, repeated pattern. So now she's with a new dude who she had probably been with for about a year. I'd say about a year, maybe a year and a half. And the new
Okay,
dude,
hold on. So let me cut in here. So for those who are maybe having grasped the scenario, she's the average hood rat. You know,
yes,
she had kids. She more or less sent her kids to go live with the daddy's family, right? You had uncle born and raised over here to take care of his kids. So as he raised these kids, she kept having more kids with different people and still being irresponsible, still living the hood. I've seen it. She's out in the streets still, right? And now she's gotten with a new dude, right? So that's where the start of this story is. She's with a new dude, same pattern. Continue. Go ahead.
all right. Good layout. So new dude, same pattern. And now that my niece Celia is 16, it's the typical repeat story. It's actually happened time and time again. Many of you that are listening or that are on the show, it's happened to you, or you know someone that's happened to, but the mom that didn't raise the kid comes back for the kid. And so that's what happened. She's trying to more or less convince my niece to want to come live with her in a studio apartment where Shantae, the mom, is living with this new dude and his 3 teenage sons that are obviously non-related to my niece. None of them, obviously, because I said it's a studio apartment, none of them kids have their own bedroom. Shantae and the boyfriend share the only bedroom in the studio apartment, while all the kids, and there was about 8 of them, are left to sleep in the small living room area. And so uh, during some of the visits over there, now we didn't know that Shantae was taking Celia over there. We were told by Shantae that Celia was going to her pawpaw's house, which would be Shantae's dad's house.
So
Yeah.
so let's backtrack here. So you didn't know the little baby was going to her mother's house and staying the night?
Well, we knew she was staying the night, but not at that location. We thought it was with Shantae's dad's house, which would have been Celia's grandpa on that side.
Okay, and were the other kids going now? Because there's 3 other kids, right?
Right.
And you were taking care of the other 3 kids, but we're focusing on her because of the particular situation. But were the other kids going to the house?
Yes, they were. There was a Mesa location that we knew about. They would go there with Celia, but when we thought that Celia was going to her pawpaw's house, then Celia's siblings were not going there with her at that time. A little bit later, we found out that all the kids were going to the studio apartment, but we didn't know at the time that again, we thought she was going to her pawpaw's house and not to the studio apartment where mom's boyfriend and his 3 sons lived at.
Okay. So let's let's set the stage. Let's give everybody a kind of a better idea. So, a studio apartment. Um, I think they call it an executive studio or whatever it is. This kind of apartment it was this the one with the door, or did it have kind of like the doorway and not a door there? Have you been there?
I've been there. It has a door.
Okay, so when he says studio apartment, most people think of just one big room, kind of like a hotel room.
Right.
This one had a bedroom. How many square feet would you say that this apartment is?
When you look it up on like Zillow or whatever, it says 450 square feet.
Okay, so we've got the size, right?
Right.
450 square feet. How many kids were staying there?
So by this time, with the knowledge we had gained, it would have been my brother's 3 kids, which he would have had with Shantae. So those are my blood nieces and nephews, as well as my niece, Celia, the one that I'm in court for custody now. So that's
That's 4.
4. And then you would have had the 2 kids that Shantae had by other men, which would be their half siblings. So now that's
So that's 6.
6. And then you got boyfriends, 3 teenage boys, which is age 14, 15, and 16. So now that's what, 9. And then,
So
mhm.
and there's more, nigga.
Yeah, because then at times the cousins or the boyfriend's grandbabies, because apparently he has adult daughters that had kids, so some of his grandbabies would all stay the night. So you could have as much as 12 to 15 kids. But on a regular, it was 9, but you could have as much as 12 to 15 kids in that small living room space.
Oh hell no. So Roger, I know you got something to say. Roger,
Well,
over
you
there
know what? I
standing.
come from a big family, and we have get-togethers, and folks are spending the night over here and spending the night over there. But man, that's a whole lot of kids for one room. I can't even fathom that. And
400
I've been places
square
where you
feet.
got that's a whole lot of kids, man. All in the same spot. Like we can't. That ain't enough for us to chill at. Like that's not for me and my people. That's not enough for us just to chill. We could barely sit down and eat a meal in a spot like that. But to spend the night, oh man, that's way too many kids. I'm keeping it real. That's just way too many kids in one place at the same time. We go to family reunions and things like that. We don't never see nothing like that. We not putting that many kids. We wouldn't even trust that many kids in the same spot like that. But hey, I guess some families are different than others. That's all I can say right now. But that's just way too much. Way too much.
Let me chime in something here too. For most of us that can relate, 'cause Roger, you're right about what you said. My siblings and I make up 7 of us. There's 6 boys and 1 girl. Now, I'm sure all of us, those that are listening and those that are in this chat, you know that when there's boys and girls and your siblings, or even if there's cousins, the girls always get their own space. So no matter how big or small a house that we had, no matter how many bedrooms our house was growing up, I never shared a room with my sister. Never slept in the same room with her. Never slept in the same bed with her. She always had her own personal space, and there were 6 boys and 1 girl. I think we all agree that was always the rule of thumb.
I
Yeah,
gotta agree. I've never, with all the female cousins I do have, we ain't never slept in the same room.
yeah, that that's
That
that's
yeah.
that's the rules of the game. And also I want to say that during this situation, because this does end up being a court case, he did fight for custody of his niece. This was quite a lengthy thing. He does have a GoFundMe. I have dropped it into the chat. This is a black man doing the right thing. If you can find it in your heart to give, hell, if maybe you can't even give, maybe you can just share it. Drop it on your Facebook page, your Twitter, your whatever. That'd be greatly appreciated. Go ahead.
Okay, so uh, picking up where we left off. So now we got all my nieces and nephews there with all these other kids, and my niece. Let's put a timeline to it. So now we're at March 2020. I'd say March 30th. On March 30th, I picked my niece up from visiting with her mom, and I had been seeing behavior changes in her. I'd been seeing attitude changes and just things that weren't normal. Um,
What
Typical
what
to
would you what would you say that, like you said, behavior changes, attitude changes? Can you give me like an example?
yeah, like she was more standoffish, more, don't touch me, or don't touch my hair, or not just the way that teenagers are, but like, that's not you. Like you're defensive. You're way more defensive now, and you're way more standoffish now. Like someone had touched her. Like someone had done something to her. And so one day, I picked her up. I waited to the next day. It was about 11 a.m. in the morning, and at this time, we'd get up and go to the park, and we'd run. She had to run 2 laps. I had to run 4. I was training for the police department, and I just wanted her to stay in shape for volleyball and maybe she'd want to run track or do basketball again, but I just wanted her to stay in shape. So that was something we were doing every day. So I got up at about 11 a.m. and I went to her and I said, Celia, I said, you need to tell me what's going on. Like, what's happening over there at your mom's place? Is something bad happening? Are you okay? Is someone doing something to you? And she puts her head into my chest and begins to cry. And she's crying so much that the top part of my shirt, and I'm wearing a tank top, the muscle shirt, the top part fills up with her tears. And she says that, and I'm gonna try not to cry because I just cried in court the other day telling the same thing. But she said that there's a boy that's touching me, and I've been laying in the living. Now she has a disability, so with kids with disabilities, you have to read into what they're saying because the way that you and I would word it, they would word it different. So, for example, one time she said, Uncle Jeffrey, I don't want you to, what did she say? I don't want you to worry about me, something like that. But what she was saying was, don't be overly concerned about me. I'm going to be all right. But the way they worded it is really dumbed down. So she said, the boy touching me. I've been laying with, I've been sleeping in the same space as another boy, and this boy's been on top of me. And so now at this point, my fists are balled. I got tears running from my eyes, and I just want to call Shantae on the phone and really go off and really want to yell and really want to drive down there. So after we get our emotions under control, later, because I'm going to jump around just a little bit. Later, I would learn more detail. Because again, when you're dealing with a kid with disability, you don't get it all out at once. It takes time. It takes strategy to get them to use proper description. So what I had ended up learning, and from her siblings, which is my blood nieces and nephews, that this boy was actually following her into the bathroom and would do things like turn off the light and shut the door and grab on her butt and grope her vagina and kiss on her neck. Now, again, most people would say, well, why wouldn't she scream? Why wouldn't she tell somebody right away? You got to realize that when you're dealing with children with disabilities, you're dealing with academic and you're dealing with cognitive levels of the brain function. The cognitive levels deals with fluid reasoning, and the fluid reasoning deals with problem solving, on the spot situations, how to think logically, how to react to certain situations that aren't normal. Hey, there's a fire on the stove. What do I do to put it out? Hey, the baby's choking. What do I do to stop him from choking? These are all examples and many more of how fluid reasoning works. Well, her fluid reasoning score is a 65. The average low is an 85, if that puts any type of perspective on it. So this would answer to anybody listening why she didn't scream, why she didn't tell anybody right away, why she didn't call me on the cell phone right away to help. What felt good to her, she could not figure out right away was, hey, I didn't give him permission to do this, or hey, I'm not supposed to be in the bathroom with the lights off and the door shut and him telling me it's okay, and then he begins so she doesn't have the reasoning that you and I have to throat check the dude and nut check him and push him off. And so these are things that was happening to her, as well as things my nieces and nephews told me that they saw him groping her in her sleep, on her vagina and on her breast. And I'm using the same language I just used in court on March 31st. This is exactly how I told it to the judge. This boy, nonetheless, he may not have been an adult, because I want to set this straight too for everyone listening. You don't have to be an adult touching a kid to violate a kid. You can be another kid, a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, inappropriately touching another kid, and that is still molestation. That is still sexual misconduct, and that is still inappropriate in sexual abuse. And so, although the age of the boy that was touching her was 14, he had been doing it since he was 12, late 12, because remember I said mom was dating this man for about a year and a half, which would put the boy about end of 12 going into 14. And so he had been what's the word?
12 into 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
12 into 12 all the way through 14. Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
he's still
right.
yeah.
Yeah, he's 12. So yeah, he's it, 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 I don't know. To me, a 16-year-old kid, these things are kind of common in terms of, maybe him knowing to kiss on a girl's neck and things like that. But a 12-year-old kid, that's something else, right? So he was doing all this stuff from the age of 12? Is that what you're telling me? Like, was he telling her, like, to calm down and, like, doing little sexual stuff with her at 12? Is that when he was doing it, or was this something that started off as maybe a grab or something from there?
No, by this point, meaning today, present day, I've asked enough questions to my nieces and nephews, including Celia, the one that I'm going for custody of. So when I put together the timeline with them, asking them the dates and which visit was it, it started when this boy was 12, and the latest incident leads up to when he is now currently 14. So it had been going on for any time my niece would go around, and we just didn't know because, again, we thought for most of the time she was going to Papa's house, and come to find out she'd been going around mom's boyfriend and these boys.
Right,
And
because to me, a 14-year-old, I feel like it's something more likely, but a 12-year-old, I'm trying to really think back to 12. My mindset wasn't anything of, something of a sexual nature. You may have peaked, but it was never to that degree. So I brought it up earlier because, typically when kids have this kind of behavior, especially at early ages, it's because somebody's done something to them. Now,
right,
do you think that, maybe this is
learned behavior.
well, yeah, of course, learned behavior, but really, do you think that this could have something potentially to do with the father, right?
Oh
Um, did,
yeah.
did you ever get any vibe or maybe hear anything of the father doing anything funny around the house?
Not necessarily in that aspect. What one of the main things that threw me for a loop with the father was his two sons, the oldest sons, the 16 and the 15-year-old, which by now they might be 17 and 16.
Right.
They are cousins at the same time they're brothers, which makes the dad uncle at the same time he's dad. So what does that mean? He slept with two
Nigga, wait,
sisters.
what? You said so they're brother cousins, cousin
They're bro-
brothers,
yeah, because he slept with the sisters. The dad did. He
brothers,
yeah, he knocked up both the sisters, which makes him Uncle Daddy, and the brothers cousins.
uncle daddy, nigga.
Uncle Daddy. So
Um,
that type of pattern right there shows something's off.
yeah. But then again, women are scandalous too. So,
Yeah.
uh, I that's just a strange occurrence. So, um, it said they cousins. Jesus Christ. Uh, uh, okay. So, what about the other kids? Because you're talking about the 14-year-old.
Right.
Has there been any incidences with the older kids per se?
Yeah, with the oldest one, he's like I said, he's either still 16, going on 17, or he just turned 17. So it's strongly believed that he's homosexual. And there were complaints. Once I had to have Phoenix PD come with me to remove um, the nieces and nephews that share my last name, so that makes it
Okay.
easier to get them. And so when I got them back and we made a call to DCS, otherwise known as CPS, it was shared that the oldest boy had been caressing and fondling them. So this is now boy on boy inappropriate misconduct
So
now.
he was messing with your two nephews.
He's messing with my two
Um,
nephews.
and how old were your two nephews?
Let's see, 14 and 12.
14 and 12. Okay. Um, okay, proceed.
So now you're not just dealing with the 14-year-old messing with my niece, following her in the bathroom, groping her while she's sleeping, forcing himself upon her. You're not just dealing with that, but you're dealing with the boyfriend's other son. So he got sons with multiple problems. So now you're dealing with his other son touching on my nephews who are boys. So now that's boy on boy. And
Well, yeah. So the way you told the story, it definitely sounds like, and I'm just, kids don't know this behavior out
right,
of the blue,
right.
and both of these kids are exhibiting predatory behavior. So this is something that is learned. This is why I'm asking you, you know, if the father has done it. And you said the kids have never complained about the father at all coming in and doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether to use the word fortunately or unfortunately, but I guess fortunately they've never said nothing about him having any type of
Okay.
creepy or nothing like that.
Okay, yeah, because it's odd that you have two kids with predatory behavior, and the
Right.
father's just, what I'm saying. So maybe it was a situation that occurred in the past, or whatever the case is. So there's a third boy, right? Did the third boy do anything?
The third boy is the middle child, so he's the tallest, the biggest out of all of them. And the only complaint about him is just physical violence. So he's assaulted, my nephews, and has believed to, from what my nieces tell me, he's hit them too. Nothing sexual, but again, for many father in here, and I believe I'm talking to some fathers, uncles, and grandparents, you don't want nobody else hitting on your kids. So I
Yeah.
know he's done that to them.
Okay, okay. So let's push a little bit further. Uh, they told you of the incidences. Um, without really being super graphic, which nobody wants to really hear anything like that. Let's just kind of recap. So, your niece Celia was basically pulled into the bathroom by. Why don't you tell the story with the cell phone? How about that?
Okay, so one story I'd shared before, and for those that haven't heard it before, again, letting you know my niece has a disability. So don't think that she thinks like we would think. What is common sense or dumb to us might be, she might not be on that level, and she's not because of her scores that she's tested under. So this boy, he takes her cell phone, and I'm telling it the way she told it to me. So this isn't me uh, doing anything with the story. I'm telling it as she told it to me. So the boy takes her cell phone and runs to the bathroom. So she pursues after him to get her cell phone. When she enters the bathroom, and this is in the studio apartment, so it's not like the adults were miles away. It's a 450 square foot studio apartment. Everyone should be able to hear and see everything. So she gets in the bathroom, the light is off. When she enters in the bathroom, the 14-year-old boy, shuts the door with the light still off. She tells me, she turns the light on and says, "What are you doing?" And he turns the light back off and says, it's okay, and locks the door. She turns the
Whoop.
light back on and says, "What are you doing?" He turns the light back off again and says, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And he then grabs her by her elbow sockets, so that's the inner part of your arm, and turns her to the wall, then presses her against the wall. He then places his private area, presses it against her private area, takes his hands and begins to caress her. I use the word caress, it's not the word she used, but begins to caress her butt and her back area.
Oh
And
God,
then,
yeah, we can do. Yeah, let's just. So we get the picture with it because this is killing me. Um, so she tells you this story. Um, what is your response, right? Like what happens after she tells you this, or after you find this story out, right? What was the next thing that occurred, right? So as soon as you heard this story, then what happened?
so this story, I had to, I had to remain calm because with her, I had to tell her, I said, "Celia, if you tell me the details, I promise I won't get mad. I won't overreact. I will just, I'll be okay." So I couldn't react in front of her because another thing that people gotta understand, and unless you have a kid with disability, you won't really get this. But they always think that they're going to be in trouble even when they're not the one that's at fault, or they're the victim. They always think they're the one that's going to be in trouble. So
Right.
I had to use strategy that said, "You're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong." So in doing that, I couldn't show reaction. But my next legal move was I told my attorney right away, and was able to then, by the time I got my nieces and nephews out in August, because remember, we're jumping from March, April, all the way till we reach August. I'm able to get them to see what they knew about the story, and whatever they knew, then we shared all these details with CPS, because I couldn't just go to CPS with hearsay. I had to have firsthand witnesses and or evidence. So that was my next move after hearing that story. I had to get the story to CPS.
Okay, so you went to CPS.
Yes.
CPS reacted to the story, and they went and did what? They went to the house and did a wellness check. How did that go?
Yeah, they end up checking on the house, but by this time I had uh, my blood nieces and nephews with me. So you got to
Mhm.
realize one thing: when CPS goes, if they don't catch something in the act, or if the person is good at hiding, the scene, the scenario, then there's nothing they can do about it. So I had already removed my three nieces and nephews. So that's three kids taken out of the house. So now you got less kids in the house, and boyfriend is now hiding his kids, acting like they don't live there. So they're at his mom's house. So when they get there, all they see is Shantae, Celia, Malachi, and Matt Jr. Boyfriend's not even there. So they'd see four people as if it's a normal living situation. Mom is obviously threatened and coerced Celia into saying that none of the stuff is true, in order to protect boyfriend and his son, and to try and save that relationship. So they don't find anything because nothing is the same as it was, because everything had been scattered. So they were no help.
I wanna run the story back because originally when this happened, you had Celia and you took her, and I think you had a conversation with her mother, to my understanding, and and it was something to the effect of she wanted to see him, and you asked her did she get rid of that nigga, right?
Right.
What happened with that? How did Celia end up living with her?
So
Because I
this
don't think we got into that story. Okay, yeah, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We sort of jumped over that, just hitting different points. But so going back to March 30th, where my niece had told me what happened, what was happening to her, and sort of what had been happening over a course of a timeline. After about an hour, to settle down, I then call my niece's mom, Shantae, on the phone. And I have my mother there as a witness, as well as Slee. We call her on speakerphone because we wanted to see if she knew, and if she didn't know, we wanted to make her aware, and then make sure that my niece never went back over there again, so long as she was going to be dating that man, and was going to be around those boys. So we call her on speakerphone, and I do the talking. I say, "Hey, Shantae, Celia just told me something very serious, and I need to know what you know, if you knew, and what you're going to do about it." So I told her what Celia had said about the boy laying on top of her, and following her in the bathroom and touching on her and stuff. And Shantae, my niece's mom, doesn't say anything, which the host, he knows her demeanor. You know how Shantae is. She'll stay quiet,
Mhm.
or just stare off into space, like she doesn't have any type of brain functioning. So that's what she did on the phone. She didn't say anything. So I tell her then, because I'm not getting a reaction, which is starting to make me upset. I say, "Well, let me tell you something, Shantae. The next time I see that boy, then you better not be surprised if I blah 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 to him." And I say I'll handle his daddy too, because my niece is over there getting sexually touched on, and I'm ticked off. So I don't want to see neither of them. I'm going to handle business. And she says, "Okay." That's the first thing she said. The only thing she says. She says, "Okay," nice and calm, and then hangs up the phone. After hanging up the phone, then she starts a chain reaction of text messages to her daughter's phone, calling her a liar, saying that it's not true, saying that if she doesn't want to come over no more, she doesn't have to. And remember, my niece lives with me and has been living with me. It's not like she was living with her mom. She was already still living with me and still enrolled in school with me. So
Wait. So you got on the phone, you put her on speakerphone. Your mother was there. You sit down, you have a conversation with her over the phone. You explain to her that her daughter is basically she's being sexually assaulted in her home under her mother's watch, and her mother had no response. She sat there quietly. You then, right as any father figure would do, under about protecting his needs, you flip out. You want a reaction from her more than silence. So you tell her, you go handle business, and her response is okay. And after you hang up the phone, she then proceeds to cuss out the little girl who was the victim in the situation. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, no, she didn't cuss her out, but she does go off on her.
Okay. So yeah, this is a horrible human being at this point, and it's sad because this is a child, and as the victim of being assaulted by this little boy in her house under her watch, rather than have is my baby okay? Let me see her. Maybe get up, rush to come see. She proceeded to flip out on the child, which is insane to me. So what happens next?
So what happens next is that about 2 weeks pass, because that puts the date at about March 31st. What happens next? About 2 weeks pass, and Salea's mom, Shantae, makes a blind attempt. And the reason I say blind is because there was no phone call to me, or there was no phone call to my mother. There was no text, nothing. Just a blind attempt to come pick up Salea. And watch this, y'all. She has the boyfriend and the boy that had been groping my niece in the vehicle.
Oh, hell no.
In the vehicle trying to pick up my niece. Now, thank God I wasn't home. I actually had my niece out with me, and we were picking up my brother Joshua from work. And so we were already out, and my wife comes calling me. She goes, "Hey, Shantae's here to get Salea." I go, "No, she ain't." No, she ain't. I said, "Who's there?" My wife goes, "Well, the boyfriend's in the car, and I believe I see a little boy in the back." I go, "Oh, no, they ain't picking up my niece. I just told her. I already let her know what was happening to my niece at that house, at that apartment." I said, "She ain't picking her up." And so
I'm still I'm just like, because you didn't tell me this before, so right, so this is blow my mind. This bitch showed up to pick up a victim with the abuser in the car. Is that what you're telling me? She showed up to pick up her daughter and put her in the back seat with the little nigga that's been abusing her. Is that what I'm fucking hearing?
That's what you're hearing. Yep.
So what I want to know is what was her response? Did you talk to her, or was this a relay situation? Because I want to know. I really want to know, because I know you were furious, right? What was the response? Did you talk to her specifically, or was this Go ahead.
No, I didn't get a chance to, because she was only trying to text my niece's cell phone, which was left at the house with my wife, and Shantae didn't know that. So that's where she's sending text messages to, and ain't nobody seeing them. So finally, after about maybe an hour or two, she finally text messages me after sitting in front of my house for like 2 hours, because my wife is the one telling me this. She finally text messages me and says, "I'm here to get my daughter." So I text her back and I go, ain't nobody hiding from you. It's just that you not taking my niece back to be sexually abused again. I told you that this boy is touching on my niece, and that your daughter was in my chest crying about what was happening to her. I said, "You try and take her, I'm calling the police." Now to set the scope for some people, because not everyone's going to get this, and it needs to be said because you got people that think different.
Well, why didn't you call the police before? Because my niece lived with me. And when she's with me, she's out of danger. And that's the same rules with DES, is that as long as the child is out of danger, you don't need at that point to involve the police. She had already been removed from the structure. I had already made the threat to the mom and to the boyfriend and to the son. So sparing them, in my mind, my niece was never going back over there. Not to mention, how hard it would be to prove what was happening. It's still just hearsay to DES and the police and everybody anyway. So that's why we didn't call sooner. But now that she showed up with this boy in the car with the boyfriend, I told her, I said, hey, I'm calling the police. You're not taking her back over there. I'm calling the police. And so the police got called. My niece did tell the police what was happening. It's in the police report. I have the police report. So she did tell the police what was happening. The police refused to remove Celia from my house and from my care. This is about April 11th. So
April 11th. Okay.
April 11th. That's where we're at right now. So for the next about 4 days, I guess, and I didn't know this, I know now, I guess she had been making attempts, Shantae had been making attempts through the police to get them to remove Celia from my care. And they kept telling her no. They knew the history because I had already talked to them. They knew she had been with me for most of her life. And that's what they're telling Shantae. Hey, this girl has been with her uncle all this time, which means he's had guardianship, although, no document through the court, but they understood that I was the parent to this girl. So they kept telling her no. So what she did was on April 15th, this week, you guys still have the timeline, she went and got an order of protection against me, and the police had no choice but to remove my niece from my care. Now, obviously, to have an order of protection, you got to have something in there that I'm doing as a threat. So she had to make something up. Just to tell you guys the end result of that, I went to court. The judge never had to hear me speak. He heard Shantae speak. He yelled at Shantae, called her a liar, and dismissed the order of protection. Just so you guys know how easy I won that.
Yeah, that and you know what, rightfully so. She told a little janky ass lie, and you know what, the shit backfired. Now
Right.
Roger's back on the show. Roger, did you hear this shit about how she showed up to the house with the little boy, the abuser, in the back seat, and was gonna put the daughter in the back seat with her?
Now I caught the back end of that. But you know what? I mean, you know me, Donnie. At this point, don't nothing surprise me. This is part of the expectation I have for some sisters. This is just what they do. Caring about kids only matters if it's affecting their image. But if it's to the point where it doesn't really affect their image, a lot of them just don't care. So, do I believe that a woman's going to do something like that? Oh, I absolutely do. I just don't. I don't even see that as abnormal anymore that a woman would do something like that to a child, because in our society they don't too much have to answer for wrongdoing, even when it comes to children. So yeah, she just wants things to be her way when she wants them to be her way. So why wouldn't she do it? That's how I kind of look at it, and I believe it's sad, and we need to make some changes with it.
Yeah. That's some real talk right there. So the order of protection came. She was able to take Celia away from you, and at that point, you had to begin a struggle in order to get custody, right? So I mean, what came next after Celia was gone? What came next?
So what came next was I had to, and this is just me speaking as a caring parent, guardian, whatever you want to label it as, father figure. I wanted to figure out the best way to stay in communication with her, knowing that her mom was going to put a block on that. And so I contacted my older brother, which is Shantae's ex-husband, Celia's stepdad. And I said, hey, see if you can convince Shantae to let Celia stay with you. Because remember, they shared 3 kids together. This is before I removed them, because we're not in August 2020 yet. We're back in April 2020. So I say, hey, see if you can get Shantae to let you get Celia. So he makes a phone call to Shantae, and she lets my brother get Celia. So now I'm able to go to my brother's house and talk more with my niece. And so now he's learning what's happening because he didn't know. I don't want to really get into his personal business, but his life was off track to where he was not involved in Salia's life. He had his own issues going on, but in this case, he was able to be a help. And so I'm able to go to his house, see Salia, talk with her, um, and stay in communication with her. That went on for about 2 weeks before she had to end up going back to her mom's place. So at this time, I'm able to get her a cell phone to stay in communication with me and the family and my wife, and to not lose touch with any of us. As well as I told her, I said, hey, if this boy or your mom or anyone does anything to you, call me. Let me know. Find a safe place. Keep the phone charged. Keep it hidden, but call me. Let me know what's going on. So that's where we're at now in this time frame. And then I start the custody. What do you call it? The custody battle at this point because I hire an attorney, and I have now. We're just waiting on the proceedings to take place because of COVID. A lot of things were delayed. But that to answer your question was the next step. That's what I did next.
Okay, yeah. So you went through the court case, and this is right about when I seen you, and we had the conversation on Facebook, and you started telling me about how you was going through this battle. And my words to you was, it's a lot of fathers who can't get custody of their daughter, and they're with horrible, wretched women, right?
Right.
And you're an uncle who is not even biologically related. So my words to you were, I didn't want to really just bust your bubble, but it was like you got a hard road ahead of you, right?
Right. Yeah.
So for those of you who listen to this, this was the story pretty much up to date on the Roger Report. And he had a court date that he had set, and basically, he was going to find out whether he got custody or whether he was going to be able to get visitation or whatever the case was. So in the time frame that took place, right there, my understanding was they had a court ordered investigator go by to check on Salia, right?
Right.
How did that first visit go?
Okay. So now we are in 2021. I think this is January 2021. The court-appointed investigator has finally been approved. You got to remember, I started this fight back in I hired my attorney back in April of 2020. Now we're in January 2021. The court-appointed advisor or investigator finally got approved by the court, goes and interviews me and my family first, sees the house, sees Salia's bedroom, sees all of her clothes, her dresser, everything, the whole living condition, interviews all the adults. All that's a green flag. It's all good. When it comes time to interviewing Shantae and Salia and trying to figure out the studio apartment, who's living where, well, I got to be careful what I share because I didn't get the green light to share it all yet. But in a condensed way, the CAA, the court-appointed advisor, found out that she was lying. Shantae was lying to everything she had told the judge, everything she had been putting as a defense against me. It came back in the report that Shantae was lying, that Salia has been sexually assaulted multiple times. I'm telling you what the investigator told the judge. She has been sexually assaulted multiple times. She is a repeated victim. She said that she fears that if Salia remains in her mother's care, that this boy will continue to assault her. Salia's mom does not have her own house. Salia does not have her own bedroom. She does not have privacy. And again, this is what the investigator told the judge. She does not have her own personal space, her own privacy. And in her words, this is a quote. She said, "Your Honor, Salia needs to be back into Jeffrey Morrell's care. He needs to have primary custody and sole custody of Salia for her safety, for her education, and for her well-being." She told the judge that at least 10 times, that I need to have primary care of my niece.
So this was said in court, right? She said this
Yeah.
in front of the judge,
Yeah.
and how did Shantae deal with that when when the court appointed attorney said this or
She
investigated?
she was rolling her eyes. She was dipping her head up and down, like squirming in the chair, frowning. You could tell that the investigator and Shantae didn't get along. I can't share what the investigator wrote in the report about that, but just know they did not get along. And this investigator made sure to reveal to the court every single lie that Shantae had told to the judge. Every lie and everything about me was 100% supportive. Everything about Shantae was 100% against her keeping Celia.
He said 100.
This
Roger, you
sounds awesome. This sounds awesome to me. Because I mean, this is a beautiful thing because really do black men get a fair shake in court, and to hear so much collapsing down on the woman who is going out of her. I ain't gonna say she's going out of her way to put the kid in jeopardy, but
I mean, shit, what else
but
would
to me
you
it kind of seems
what
like
else would you call it?
I mean, I'm just thinking like, what? I don't know what else to call it if that ain't going out of your way, because you don't have to have that girl there.
The,
At least when you got the boys over there, you don't have to have a girl there. You could, you know what I'm saying? She got a dad, and so, and then she got an uncle that actually wants her to come there and be safe and okay. So it's sad to me that a grown woman will look upon a child who is not mentally all the way there, and you still don't show no mercy to that child. That sounds so crazy to me. But again, nothing surprises me at this point. And it's sad to say it, but yeah, I'm not surprised. This is just a really sad situation. But you would think women would, being on the sister code, you would just get the girl away just to, you know what I'm saying, just to keep something from happening to her. But it seemed like that sister code stuff don't start till you at least 18, maybe 21. I don't know, but it seemed like they just throw kids under the bus when it comes to that sister code. Like nobody cares about the kids, just about. That's what it seemed like. I'm not saying nobody actually cares, but the way it seems, it's like nobody cares about these kids.
yeah, the shit. I mean, the shit is crazy. The when you said, hold on, I'm trying to put the GoFundMe in the into the crowd. So if you scroll up, the GoFundMe is there, just so you know. But yeah, no, this shit is crazy. When you said she you didn't think she was going out of her way, she was going out of her way. She came to pick up her daughter, who she don't watch no way, with the nigga that abuses her in the back seat, and they was going. And you got to think, he lives far out. He lives far out in the boonies, right?
Far out. That's right.
This nigga lives probably, I would say, an hour and 35 minutes from where she was living at. Is that about right?
That's accurate. Yes.
So she came with the nigga who is abusing her daughter to put her in the back seat with this nigga while she probably yelled at her for an hour and 35 minutes with the abuser next to her, the abuser's father, and her crazy ass mama, all giving this little girl the business. There's levels to ain't shit parents, and she hit each and every single one of them. At a certain point, it's a malicious thing, and that's just what it sounds like. Why would you go pick up? Okay, let's say she was a parent that gave slightly less of a fuck. She would have shown up without these other motherfuckers in the car and took her daughter with her, right? Still a horrible fucking action. But she showed up with all of the people in the car to give that little girl hell on the way home. That's a crazy bitch. That's a motherfucker that is unparalleled and evil.
And if I can jump in to add too, you are correct. In April, when I said that Celia was able to go to my brother's house and I was able to meet her over there, at that time she told me, I said, Celia, what happened when your mom picked you up with the police that day? Did she yell at you? Did she go off on you? My niece said she yelled at her, just like you said, Donnie, the whole drive home. And I use home loosely because her home was with me. So the whole drive to where they were going. And then when they got to where they were going, yelled at her for another hour while they were there,
Mhm.
and had the audacity to make my niece apologize to the boy that was groping her. Now, again, let's put this in perspective. Mom, Shantae, is dating the boyfriend. This is boyfriend's son. So either boyfriend went upside her head, or whatever the case is, whatever the behind the story is, something possessed Shantae to make her daughter apologize to the boy that was sexually assaulting her.
It wasn't something. Roger's probably gonna put this real fucking eloquent in a minute, but it was this woman's need to please the boyfriend and not give a fuck about her child, right? She cares more for the attention of this nigga who could leave her at any minute, who depends on her for uh really for a place to stay and everything else when they did have an apartment, right?
Right.
So she did everything that she could in order to keep this man happy and satisfied. And it came down to her daughter's um innocence, right? Her daughter's
Mhm.
innocence was on the line. And she probably said something to the little boy, and the little boy was like, "What? Nah, she did." And the dad went off. "Nah, bitch, you better get that little girl. We're not finna have my son going to jail." And rather than protect her daughter's innocence, what did she do? She worked with the abuser and his father, and I'm sure the father was probably talking all kind of crazy shit to him. She was probably getting a little crazy shit from the little abusive ass boy in the back seat, and then he probably still was abusing her when they got to the house. That poor little girl had to go through hell. But I mean, Roger, what do you think on the subject? Because this shit infuriates me, and I'm trying to keep my cool. But Roger, go ahead, let me cool out.
Nah, bro, I don't even have a eloquent way to put this. This is called dick at all costs. That's really what
That's right.
you know.
That's right.
Dick it all.
Yeah, that and come on, that's all this is amounting to. She wanted dick at all costs. I don't care if it costs her, how much gas it costs her to go from one place to the other place, how much time she had to do to protect this nigga's son, who's messing with her own daughter, the safety of her child, whatever. No matter what the price is, she's willing to pay it because it's dick at all costs. And it's sad that we got women to the point where they literally want dick at all costs, and usually it's from a person that ain't really finna do nothing for them because they just won't get their act together for a decent brother to accept them, because that's all she had to do at the end of the day. We talking about a woman who walks around on planet Earth and men come up to her to offer everything to them. This is not. We don't live in society where women even have to work. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy willing to take care of you. But rather than deal with a guy who will be decent to you and who will respect you and who will love you and protect your children, you want some random nigga who son is already messing with people he ain't got no business messing with, which says something about how he is as a father, because he's supposed to be teaching his son better than this in the first place. So yeah, this woman just won't dick at all costs. Well, I can't even say at all costs. As long as it don't cost her something productive, as long as you don't have to do something productive or answer to a productive man, she ain't gonna do that. But if it's just a bum nigga, cool, she'll take it. If a bum nigga will have a son that'll mess with my daughter, cool, I'll take it. And then the fact that her daughter ain't mentally where she needs to be, and you don't even give no extra care at that particular point. I mean, that's why I say when it comes to these women, what I see is they're only doing enough to protect their own image. If you literally have to do something for your child, but regardless of how much they need it, if it won't negatively affect their image, they just ain't gonna do it. And all she had to do was protect her own child. But as long as nobody knows her child ain't protected, she ain't gonna do it. It takes somebody to put her on blast that she's not protecting her child for her to do something, which is
Thank you.
sad. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. You hit it right there. Home run. That's right.
Yeah,
I mean, this is ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, Go ahead. Shit.
Since because he's already on a home run, so I want to piggyback off that home run and tell you guys that there's so much to share. You guys already know that I miss details here and there because I can't get it all. I will be here all year, but on that point he made, I want to piggyback and say this: after she got my niece back with the police, and she took her back to the apartment, did all the yelling and yada yada. By the time my niece went to my brother's house and then had returned back to Shantae's house, that's my niece's mother. This is now May 2nd, because remember, she stayed with my brother for about 2 weeks. I was able to go there every day, see my niece, and spend that time with her. So now she's back at her mother's on May 2nd. Would you know, because we sent my nephew, that my brother and I sent my nephews, there's 2 nephews and 1 biological niece, right? So that's the 3. That's the 3 that are related to me. We sent them to watch over Celia because my niece is slow. So we sent them to watch over her. And would you know that even after these allegations have came out, that Shantae, the mother, her first thought of let me do what's right was this. It's a studio apartment. The kids all sleep in that tiny, 30 square foot, 50 square feet. It's not that much living room space. So her best thought was, let me push the couches together. Celia and Mariah, you lay on this side of the couch, and the boy that groped Celia, you lay here beside Celia, and the other boy lays beside the boy. The brothers, they lay beside each other. So my nephew calls me and says, Uncle Jeffrey, Mom just pushed the couches together so the girls and boys can lay next to each other. I said, Josiah, do something.
What?
Right. I said, Josiah, do something right now, because I'm trying not to cry right now, but I said I'm gonna lose my mind. So he pushes the couch to the opposite ends of that room. It's not that far. Like I said, it's like 30 square feet, so it's not even that far. But he separates the couches and looks his mom in the face and says, "That's not how you do things." Now, why would your 14-year-old son have to separate the couch and look you in your face like that's not how you do? After your daughter came out about being sexually touched, and you want that nasty boy to lay next to your daughter still. What y'all think about that?
Now, Stoic said it earlier. Mom is complicit. She must at this point. You telling me that she made it even easier for this little boy to mess with her? It sounds like she want a grandbaby.
That's what my mom said. So you're on the right track. You ain't the only one. Yep.
It sounds like she want a grandbaby and a check to come with the grandbaby.
Yep.
I mean,
sickening.
You don't push the couches together. So not only do you know it's happening, you're encouraging it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Roger.
Man, all I can say is hoes gonna be hoes, and hoes encourage hoe behavior amongst the young. That's just what it is at the end of the day. I mean, to push the couches together so he can have easier access to her. Yeah, come on, man. What are you trying to accomplish with that? Outside of a baby, she ain't all the way there mentally, so she ain't gonna use no condom. Obviously the boy ain't gonna do it because he messing with a girl who's slow.
Right.
The nigga 14, he don't know what a condom is, nigga. He barely know what sex is, nigga. So she's taking pregnancy chances every 2 minutes.
Well, it's almost like she want her to get pregnant, so focus are going a different direction. So this lady needs to be smacked. I mean, real talk. I don't even know what else to say. This lady is one of the worst people walking the planet right now. This don't make no sense at all.
How old was how old was Shantae when she had Celia?
She was, so this is 2004. She's born in 1986. What's that put her at, guys? 16.
So she's 1 year older than us. So this is 2004. She had a baby and she was born in 86. So she's 34. So she's about 17, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 18, I think.
Well,
2004. Probably
keep this
17,
in mind
18 having
too.
a baby.
She's August of 1986, so
She was
maybe
August.
August of 1986, which means in 2004 she might have been turning 17 or could have been turning 18,
Right,
depending
right,
on what
right.
the math is. Yeah,
Yeah, so she's 17, 18. So
yeah,
it sounds to me based on that and knowing that information, um, and Celia is the same age. The mom is trying to set up Celia to follow in her footsteps, is what it sounds like.
yep,
And that may be a jealousy thing. That may be a issue to where she doesn't want her daughter to outshine her or outdo her because even though the little girl has a mental disability, uh, you ain't gonna let her fall into the traps that her mother fell into.
right, right.
So yeah, to me, it sounds as if she's purposely setting up her daughter for failure in order to probably keep her daughter in her place.
And just so that way everyone listening understand this, the court appointed investigator was my best chance of getting the things kept in the dark and things kept in secret revealed. So one of the things that I believe I can speak on, and it won't affect nothing because the final hearings already happened. One of the things I can speak on is that the CAA did find out and told in the report and told the judge that she concluded that Celia had been coached and coerced to hide everything that's happened to her. So that's great for me that she revealed that and told that to the judge.
Yeah, this is some shit. This is crazy. Um, I I mean, man, and Roger was right. Dick at all costs. She sounds like Precious Mama.
Right.
I never saw that movie, but I would have a hard time believing that Precious Mama was worse. I would have a hard time believing it. I don't really think they made a character that bad because this is horrible. Because it's one thing if it was somebody else's kid and you don't really care that much, but to do this to your own kid and you don't have no sympathy for just a decent human being. We got sympathy for people who are not all the way together mentally. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I don't need to be related to you to have some sympathy for a person like a kid that rode the short bus or whatever.
Right.
I don't need to be related to you, have some sympathy for you, period.
Thank you.
So for this to be your own daughter and you won't do no better than this, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, if this was my sister, we make some arrangements. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Well,
This is what I'm talking about.
and let me tell you this too, just again for people listening, because I want everyone to have the proper perspective and the proper outlook. When I had to remove my blood nieces and nephews in August of 2020, and they came back to my place after they had talked with CPS and told them everything that their mom was keeping a secret, everything that was happening to their sister Celia by that boy. Won't you know that their mom, Shantae, which is Celia's mom, cut them off, has not seen them, talked to them, called them, emailed them, visited them since August of 2020. We are now in April of 2021. All these months, she has not even dared to speak with them. What type of innocent mother would do that rather than fight for your children? Why not come after me for them? Why not call the police again? Where's the next order of protection? Because she's mad that they ratted her out, and she's so mad that she's cut off 3 of her children for life.
At all cost.
Yep.
So she cut them off for being good people.
Hey, there you go. What type of innocent person would do that? Just so everyone has the right perspective. If you were so innocent, you wouldn't cut your children off. You would be like, hey, they're being coached, they're being told to lie. Give me my kid back. Nothing. It's April 2021. Not even a single phone call.
Because that's what the kicker is. Let's say that the mother genuinely believes that her little girl isn't being molested because she thinks the little girl is a liar. Okay, cool. Let's get now we know it's bullshit, but let's give her that she genuinely believes that the little girl is lying. You got 3 other kids telling you that that your daughter's being molested,
Thank you.
and you still don't give a fuck.
Thank you.
So, like Stoic said, she knows. She's fully aware. And at this point, from everything that you've described to me, the mother probably, in my opinion, and I say this loosely, I'll say allegedly, because if it ever comes back, probably allegedly wanted this to happen, and she's probably pushing for it at this point. Uh, because again, that little boy what is he, 14?
He's 14. Yeah, he'll be 15 this September.
So he's abusing her, and he's too young to know consequences, right? So this isn't going to stop. He's going to continue to do this until he learns consequences. So
Agreed.
any time that he has alone with her, or shit, it sounds like he might not even have to be alone. Anytime he can get away with it, he's gonna keep pushing. So yeah,
Yep.
you do need to get her the fuck up out of there as soon as possible.
And that is a quote coming from Donnie. Donnie just said he never met the CAA. He never met what the investigator said. That is an exact quote of what the investigator told the judge. Everything you just heard Donnie say, word for word nearly, is what the investigator told the judge. What does that
Yeah,
tell?
that little boy doesn't know consequence. At 14 years old, think about it. If you was doing some shit, something that you wasn't supposed to be doing at 14, and you wasn't getting in trouble for it, you kept doing it.
Thank you. Yep.
You kept doing it. And low key, the mom is encouraging it. So now, not only does he not see a problem with what he's doing, he thinks he's supposed to be doing it. He thinks it's
Right.
normal. Oh, you gonna push the couch together for us? Oh, okay, cool. Hey, can you make a nigga a sandwich in a few minutes? This is ridiculous.
Well, I think that when it comes down to it, because a lot of women in our society don't have to face accountability and things like that, she'll let it go on because she don't care. And then if the girl end up pregnant, all she gonna do is blame the boy and say it's his fault.
Right.
Even though she did everything she could to make sure that was going to happen, she's still gonna have it in her mind it's his fault because he's a boy.
Right.
I don't even think she's gonna blame the boy. From everything that I'm hearing, she gonna blame the little girl, and she probably gonna use it to put the little girl in her place. See, you was fast, you was doing it, and he's that little boy, and he got him pregnant, and now you problem, and you done messed up my relationship. I don't see that little boy getting blamed for nothing because dick at all cost.
She would blame him when they were a little bit older. That's what happened, because it's all about the age and things like that. So when he got older, she would blame him. You know what I'm saying? That right little, once she break up with that boyfriend, that's when she would blame that boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Cause that's, man, that's a trip, and you're gonna have to put her in counseling, because these are things that scar you and stay forever. And she's special needs, so I think we had one of these conversations before. Sometimes when little girls are abused, people in general, but we talk about little girls. Sometimes when little girls are abused, they become confused on the situation, and they don't see it as negatively as it should be. So
Right.
you're gonna have to get her in counseling in order to kind of get some of these things straightened out, and let her know that this behavior is not okay. Just because you maybe have become accustomed to it does not mean that this is normal. And you're gonna have to go down the list. And this is tragic as hell.
And I want to piggyback off that because this is very important what Donnie's saying. It's important for those that may not have thought about it, that may not know it, or that may already know it. But listen to this. So as a pastor of a church, this was in 2000, I want to say maybe 8 or 9, around that time frame. There were some Hispanic kids that we were picking up from Phoenix to go to church. And they were very troubled kids. They didn't have a stable home. As a matter of fact, their home was a lot like what I'm describing. My niece's mother was housing. There was like 9 of those kids all in a 2-bedroom apartment, really, really small. 9 kids, 2 adults. It was really tiny. The eldest daughter, her name is Esperanza. Everyone's adults now, so it's fine. But her name was Esperanza. She was maybe 12 at the time. So her mom, who was the mother of all 9 kids, was dating the boyfriend. You're right. She was dating the boyfriend who was the father of at least 5 of the kids, right? So the boyfriend, every time he was drunk, and they're from Mexico, so they're Spanish speaking, they're not Americans. He would always go in the bedroom where all 9 kids slept, crawl over all 9 kids, and begin to do the da-da-da to the 12-year-old girl. And so he did this so often that the 12-year-old girl used to have her brothers lay over her. In case he would come, he would have to move them first. Well, sadly, he would move them and still do the dun-dun-dun. She did get pregnant. Here's the sick part of the story.
What?
The 12-year-old got pregnant at the exact same time, go figure, as the mother. They gave birth in the same month, right? So here's what I'm trying to say here. The 12-year-old, because we obviously we didn't know them then. We knew of them after the baby was born. The baby was about a year old. So we had no idea this stuff was happening. We had no knowledge of it. We had to learn about it by asking the right questions. How are you so young with the baby? So anyways, what she told me at one point was, she said it had happened to her so much and so consistently that she began to like it. And because she began to like it, then the tables would turn where she would then seek it or ask for it. Let's relate this back to my niece. My niece has a disability. It's not like it always hurts. It's still a pleasure thing, right? But it's wrong. It's a violation. It's sexual misconduct. It's a violation of her privacy. It's a violation of her intellect. She's not smart enough to give consent. And so therefore, even as Donnie was just leading to, even if she is to the point where she does not know it's wrong, it's still wrong. And counseling is going to help her with that. And the right father figure, myself, the right protector, the right bodyguard is going to help prevent that as well. But I just want to share that so people understand these little girls that are violated, it is possible that they do think that the pleasure is okay. And it's not okay. Being raped is not okay. Being molested is not okay. And it needs to be stopped.
Yeah,
I mean, I want to say that, it's girls that's in high school that do have sex with grown men. That, of course, they're getting pleasure from it. So I get why they say girls who have been molested or something like that, they just become more promiscuous, because at the end of the day, sex does feel good, and when you're thinking like a child, you're gonna gravitate towards something that feels good. But the issue is that you gotta have parents that's teaching kids something, and what this little girl is going through is just a complete failure of her mother at the end of the day, because you can't have custody of a child and all this is going on and it's all in your face and you just ignoring it and you ignoring this all over some worthless dick. Not no dick that put you in the mansion. No, I'm keeping it real. Yeah, because this ain't no dick that put you in the mansion where somebody could try to somehow figure out why she would do this. She ain't driving no Porsche. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got no Swiss bank account somewhere. You ain't about to retire. This some regular old everyday dick that can't do enough for you to get you out of that studio apartment.
Yep.
You can't even put your money together with this dude so you can get out of a studio apartment. You are worthless. I'm gonna stop right here.
Well, and not to really make this a negative comment. I want you guys to read into this, whatever you read into it, and comment whatever you want. But this man is 13 years older than my niece's mom as well. So it's like, are you desperate or what?
Well, I mean, truth be told, if he's 13 years older, he should be able to get out into at least a 1-bedroom. Come on, man. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
what are you doing with your life? You can't get him into a 1-bedroom?
Right. Yep. still DJing. He's like 48, 40. He's born in 1977, I think. So he's like 48, 49. Still DJing. I mean, that's what he does. That's what he does. But how are you doing this as your career? And you got 9 kids minimum sleeping in a studio. Like, what you've been doing with your life? You can't get a proper place to give these kids privacy, so this type of stuff does not happen.
You know, I don't know about a DJ. A DJ that makes less than $200 a show. Is that me? I hear some echo, but
that might have been me. But yeah, no, that nigga don't give a fuck. You damn near 40 years old and a DJ living in a studio apartment. It's not,
bro.
He just don't give a fuck. He comfortable.
Yeah. That's my thing. Is like, if you make $200 a show, do one little show every weekend, you can help a broad get into a 3-bedroom apartment. If you just got one for the adults, one for the girls, one for the boys, and just make it an apartment, you can fix that whole situation.
And as quiet as it's kept, he should go ahead and do all that and should have left my niece alone over here where she's living for 15 years.
He brought the niece back in the house to ensure that his son, his son that no harm comes to his son. Because you got to understand, if he wants to, because I'm just thinking of it from the worst possible ways, right? He wants to protect his son. He can't do that. And she lives in your house, because eventually it's going to get to the police.
Right.
And the police are going to have to come and file a report, and it's going to go further and further down the road to where this little nigga might get incarcerated, right? But if she stays with the mama, ain't no police report getting filed. Police come around the house, she already know what the role is. You need to apologize. You do this to my son. Officer, she was lying. She made this shit up for attention. Yada, yada, yada. Y'all can get the fuck about my house. And then they go on with their lives. So he secured his son at the cost of, it runs back to what Roger said, dig at all costs. The mama know this shit. She just don't give a fuck.
I agree.
Well, you know what? I gotta say this too. The truth be the woman. If the woman cared and wanted to protect the man and the man's son, you simply could have just had it stopped. You could not tell the police so he don't go to jail. You could not have a crime investigated, and you still could just have it stopped. You know, you don't have to put them on the same, push them together in the same room. You keep it. You check the situation. You keep it private, and everything cool. But she ain't do that though.
She would have to, in order for her to stop it, she would have to acknowledge that this is going on. So I'm sure they said something to the little boy, and what you think the little boy said? No. So now, if she was to make anything stop, she would have to actually hold the little boy accountable, and that's not finna fucking happen. So rather than hold the little boy accountable, rather than mess up her waste man dick, her cheap bullshit ain't shit nigga dick, she gonna let the shit keep going because she don't want to fuck up her situation. It would blow up her spot too much.
And to piggyback off of that, once again, you fellas are right in the money. Remember I told you that after I called her and told her I was gonna whatever, wanted to meet the daddy, and she hung up, and then she started text messaging her daughter. One of the few messages that she sent to me would have been the next day, so not March 31st, but this was probably April 1st. She sent me a message saying, "Hey, bro, I talked with the boyfriend, talked with the boyfriend's son. And here's what we want to do. We want to get Celia and we want to have a meeting about what she said with the son and set everything straight. Because, we done talked about this type of behavior before." Now I'm really mad because I'm like, wait a second. You mean to tell me you knew about this behavior before and now you want to have this secret meeting? So I responded back to her and I said, "Oh, we can have a meeting, but I'm going to be present. And my pops will be present. and my mom will be present because I wasn't about to go there by myself. So I said, we're going to be present, and Celia's sitting next to me, and we could talk it out. And then when you're done talking, I'm gonna talk to the boy, and I'm gonna talk to the boy's daddy, and then the meeting will be adjourned, and Celia's coming back with me. And she never responded back, and until, like I said, April 15th, she showed up with the police.
Yeah, so that right there told me that she didn't seen it, she didn't caught it, and she probably chalked it off as kids doing little shenanigans or some shit, or maybe she just didn't give a fuck in general. But she knew right then and there it was going off, and they were trying to rehearse the story and make Celia come down on it. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, she ain't shit.
Yep.
That's tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her daughter ain't worth the pop top to her.
That's right. Ain't with the Pop Tart. I like that.
She worth some EBT stamps though.
Yep.
Man, this is crazy. So overall, right? You're waiting on the judgment to come in the mail. It sounds like it's pretty much a slam dunk at this point because of what the court-appointed investigator went in there and said, right? Like, I would think it would be hard pressed for the judge to deny this and then still be like, well, you know what, she needs to be with the mother, right?
Right. So to put what he's saying in perspective, I did talk with my attorney after the hearing. He feels highly confident that I'm going to win primary custody. And just so everyone understands, the whole year he did not feel that way because I'm not blood on. He told me bluntly, he said, you may get one visit a month out of the year. But now, after the CAA had investigated and testified, then for the first time, he said, you just won primary custody. Now, to piggyback off of that, I did message the investigator after the hearing. I said, hey, does the judge normally follow your recommendation? Does the judge normally go off of what you say? She messaged me back and said, yes. So you put all of that together, like Donnie said, it looks like this is a clear victory.
Yeah, that's tragic.
Yeah, this lady the worst.
Right. And one of the things that really hold on, let me turn the private chat. You know what? I might got something in the background. Yeah, one of the things that killed me was my understanding is she's basically chosen this. Does she have a house at this point? The mother?
No.
So the mother's staying where exactly?
So this is where my attorney and the investigator shined in the hearing. Not even that, Roger. Less than Section 8. This woman is homeless, and here's what I mean by that. When she ended up she hopped out of the studio apartment to try and hide that. That's part of the thing that I told you the investigator wasn't happy about and told the judge about. So she hopped out of that, never let the investigator see it, never took on a tour of it, never did what she was supposed to do for the investigation. That made the investigator mad. Part two is this. She moved out of that studio apartment and moved into the boyfriend's sister's house. And in court, the investigator told on Shantae and said, in that boyfriend's sister's house, you got boyfriend and mom, which is Celia's mom. You got boyfriend's sister. You got boyfriend's sister's brother. You got boyfriend's sister's 3 kids, boyfriend's 3 kids, Shantae's 3 kids, which is my niece Celia, Malachi, and Junior. How many kids is that? I lost count. Did anyone keep count of that?
I did, but that's a lot of kids.
Right. So you see, my point is this. She jumped from a studio apartment to a 3-bedroom house, sure, but still no privacy. Kids are still all up on top of each other. The girls aren't separated from the boys. And the investigators telling the judge, listen, Your Honor, this is the problem. I interviewed Mr. Burrell's house. Celia has her own bedroom. She is safe there. Rick Sean is not doing what she's supposed to do. And y'all got to forgive me if I say Rick Sean or Shantae. We call her by different names. But anyway, so So that told on her. And then to answer your question, where is she at today? Now, right before court, she tried to clean that situation up and moved in with her grandma. And so my attorney then jumped in to piggyback off the investigator and said, Your Honor, she's jumping around. She has no home. She has no stability for Celia. She's playing games. She's trying to trick the court. Celia needs to be placed back with me.
That sounds like a. If you don't have no home, you can't tell me you can protect a daughter who's suspected of being abused from abuse because you don't even control your situation.
Thank you. And when you moved into the sister's boyfriend's sister's house, all you did was created more avenues because it's a bigger house. That could be even scarier than the studio apartment. You created more avenues for this boy to get to my niece now, who has learned no consequence, who has faced no discipline. So he has not deterred his actions.
Yeah, this is disgraceful. Real talk. She really ought to be ashamed of herself. You know, I know she not, but she ought to be.
Ought to be.
She really ought to be.
Yep. So Donnie and I, we couldn't wait to update everybody to so that you know, because again, it's a hard fat battle, and it looks like because of the investigator, I'm going to come out on top. And it's rare for black men to come out on top in this type of situation, and this black brother is about to come out on top.
Right. So, I do want to again bring up the GoFundMe, right? It is in the comments. It is this is a touchy situation, right? You went out of your way. Let me ask you this. For this legal battle, right? Because you have the GoFundMe, and I want people to understand why I put the GoFundMe up. Um, what did you pay in order to get all of this going in terms of legal fees? What was the amount that you paid out of pocket?
In this order, first I had to pay $4,000, and that was to beat the order of protection. Then I paid another $5,000 starting the custody battle. Then another $5,000 on top of that. In covering those costs, I had to take a $14,000 loan out on my car, as well as the expenses that just kept rolling in and rolling in. So I'd say that presently I'm probably somewhere between 20 and 25,000, somewhere in that range. That's where I'm at. The GoFundMe has helped me cover about $6,700, but that's where I'm at so far. And I'm willing to keep going, but I've already done the final hearing, waiting for the final judgment. But I still owe on that attorney bill. I think I still owe probably about $8,000 after that last hearing.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say I hope it does go well for you, and I hope that will be the last of it. I hope they got enough information to make their final determination, and you can stop all this. And we're gonna continue to promote your GoFundMe. And hopefully, we can get this all covered.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you spread it enough.
You've been out here pushing. You did this on your own. And this is one of the things that should be celebrated in the black community, right? This is a black man who went out there and did his best to get this girl out of this bad situation in order to ensure her life doesn't end up in shambles. You can't say, and I said this earlier, you can't walk around and keep saying black men don't protect black women, because this is a prime example of a black man doing everything at all costs in order to make sure that this little girl is good. We do protect black women. As the title of the show says, she needs a father. The little girl needs a father, and she's found that in him. She's found that in Born to Reign. He is a father figure. He is ensuring that she gets the help she needs with her disability, and that she's going to be a productive little girl in the future. Uh, we need more fathers in the black community, and it's all too often where fathers are defeated by evil wretched women, and that's the only way I can put it. Because if we're looking at this woman Shantae as an example, she's an evil, wretched woman. This
Well
is a
said.
woman who put her daughter in harm's way, or as Roger put, dick at all costs. She picked her daughter up, who told her that she was abused, sexually assaulted by the little boy in her mother's house, and the mother picked her up with the little boy in the back seat so she could sit next to her and be cussed out for an hour and 35-minute ride, and then get cussed out when they get to the house, only to make her apologize to him. Does that sound like somebody who cares about her children? Does that sound like somebody who would care about the community? Not to me. So, I really wanted to go over your story, give everybody an update, let them know the progress. At this point, uh, we gonna call this a victory because the I just don't have a doubt in my mind that the judge is gonna let this go in and get worse for that little girl. So he's gonna go ahead and pass the custody over. Now I will make sure I give an update, a final update, because we already waiting on the letter, right?
Yeah, we're waiting on the email, and my
email,
attorney said he's
and my
personally
attorney said
going
he's
to call
personally
me.
going to call me.
Right. So, we're soon to get that, and I'm more than positive you'll get custody. But I wanted to keep everybody abreast of the situation and let them know. Um, again, the GoFundMe is there. If you have $1 to spend, please, by all means, go ahead and send it off. If you don't have any money, share it. Maybe let this situation be known, right? Let this man stand as a pillar of the community and help him protect this black woman because he done spent this money out of pocket. Did nobody ask him to go out and help this little girl? He's not related to, right? She's been in his care since a child. He is not related to this little girl, but he is still out here doing what he's supposed to do. All right, fellas. So you got some final sentiments? We're gonna wrap this up.
But I'll
I,
go
I
first.
just want.
Let, let me go first. As a man who also helps out with some girls that are not his own, um, this ridiculous notion that black men ain't out here doing stuff for women, because these girls are all gonna become women. And the fact that you have men that are not related to these children going out of their way to help kids that are not our own, and it just shouldn't be acceptable that a mother can do this, can treat her own daughter this way. As a person who helps girls that are not my own, to hear about a mother who won't protect her own child, this is just absolutely disgraceful. There is no excuse for it. And women, y'all got to do something about y'all image, and y'all gonna have to start learning how to disassociate from people who do this ridiculous stuff. Because this is just one example. It's far too many cases of children that get abused and their mama be right there. I know a lot of people want to blame a father who's not around, but when you're in charge and when you're the head of the household, what happens to these kids is your responsibility at the end of the day. And I get that life ain't fair. Some stuff you can't protect them from, but it's far too often kids are being harmed by stuff you could protect them from. So if you're gonna have a child, protect the child. If you're not gonna protect the child, just get a child to the father. It's just that
Oh,
simple.
so you know what? I was gonna wrap it up. We got Bianca on the panel, and you know what? Bianca does this. Bianca does this for a living. Uh, you were. What's going on, Bianca? Let me say that off top. How you doing, love?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you get a chance to listen to any of the show?
I did not.
Ooh,
So sorry.
I'm not going back over. That was a long
It
story.
was a
Uh,
deep situation.
Yes. So to
Hmm.
kind of give you a synopsis or a brief cut, we got Born to Rain here. Born to Rain has been raising his niece. She is not his biological niece. Pretty much since she was in Pampers, she's always been around him, but he's been raising her up. And at the age of 16, he comes to find out that when his niece goes to go spend the night with her mother, she's being it's not molested. He's another little boy, so she's being sexually assaulted by her mother's boyfriend's son. Now he confronted the mother about it, and rather than the mother, become mama bear, she flipped on the daughter, blamed the daughter, cussed the daughter out, right? Said some horrible things, and then proceeded to pick the daughter up through some kind of shady means, and really chastise the daughter in a few ways. So you working for working with kids and stuff of that matter, do you kind of have an inside track on that, right? um with these situations, how often do you see how often do you see it where a mother just basically is leaving their kid out to dry uh for dick?
Um, Even outside of the field that I work in, it's pretty common. I would say it's a common thing. I mean, to me, it's just as common as a man leaving a woman. You know what I'm saying? For some pussy, and it's just not talked about as much. I'm sorry, my
So
dog is drinking water, and I think it sounds terrible.
so he's been going through this custody battle, and uh uh he had a court appointed investigator go by and deal with the little girl. And the little girl has a disability and everything else. Let me ask you this, just in case this goes south or sideways, what are some avenues he could maybe reach out to or do, or for anybody else listening that is in this situation where they're trying to get custody and they feel like a child is in harm's way?
Well, it sounds like he's already doing what he needs to do. I have someone else that is going through a similar situation, and as I advised him, um, excuse me, sorry, um, as I advised him, file for an emergency hearing. You know what I'm saying? You have to be proactive in those situations because the last thing you want is for something to happen to the child and you didn't do anything or you didn't do all you can do because then you'll be blaming yourself. So, every avenue you can take it. Document everything, every conversation. If you can have it via text or email, do that. A lot of chicks are hip to it, but there's ways. Um, so my thing is keep record of everything and pursue everything to the fullest extent possible. Um, and then once you do get custody of your child, you get some therapy for that baby. That's the biggest
So
thing because a lot of people, um, you know, they look down on therapy, but it's very necessary, especially in a circumstance like this. Like, she's going to need it.
I'm all for it. That's exactly what I told him earlier. We had the conversation. Born to Rain, do you have questions for her? Do you want to ask her anything? Because this is what she do.
Um, no, I think she said it best so far. I think that I've taken every open door that I could knock on or kick in. I've knocked on it or kicked it in. We've done two emergency motions. I've paid endless amounts of money to make sure that every type of motion that can be filed has been filed. The biggest thing, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that we were able to get the court appointed advisor or investigator, whatever term you like better. We were able to get them on the scene. They investigated my house, my family, saw my niece's bedroom. Because what Donnie was saying was, not only has she been in my life, she actually lived in my home under my care for the majority of uh, 15 years of her. She's 17 now, but she got removed from my care at the age of 16. So for 15 of those years, she was in my house. And so We found everything we could. The CAA, got on the scene, has approved of my house, saw that everything was true as we said. The CAA went to investigate my niece and my niece's mom and their living situation, and it was a mess. It was so much a mess that she wrote details about how disappointing it was in her report. And the CAA was able to testify in court to the judge and was able to tell the judge this and that, this and that. And basically, as a quote, the CAA had said, Celia needs to be under the primary care and sole custody of myself, Jeffrey Morrell. And she told the judge that at least 10 times because different questions were asked. Like the judge said, well, let me ask you this. Is it detrimental for this girl to stay with her mom? The CAA said, yes, it is very detrimental because she will continue to be a victim of sexual abuse. Her education will continue to drop, and she may not graduate until 21 or 22. So we got that part in, and that's the most important part of getting a child removed from the parent's care is if it's detrimental or not. And the other part was that the CAA had confirmed that my niece had been coached and coerced to lie, that she has been sexually assaulted multiple times and will continue to be a victim, that she is facing mental instability due to being questioned so many times over and over again and being forced to lie about so many things. So again, just recapping, I think that she has already the young lady on here thinks she's right. I've already taken every avenue I could take. The CAA was my biggest help and happened to rule in my favor and spoke in my favor to the judge. Donnie, you said it best. I think we're here at the victory. It's just that waiting game to hear the judge say, you have custody of your niece now. I think that's where we're at. I don't know why it's taking so long, but it just is taking time to hear that judgment.
Yeah, you've been down the road. Like he already contacted CPS and they pulled them kids up because she had them in a studio. The studio was 400 square feet, right? 400 square feet, and she had what, 9 kids in that studio?
Minimum.
It sounds like she was in an extended stay.
No, she was off of Central Avenue. Central Avenue and Baseline, some apartment.
She don't know. Yeah, she don't live in the city.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
yeah. So she was in a hood apartment basically. We call it a executive studio. It's really a 1-bedroom, but it's not nothing special.
So will she lose the other children?
That's undetermined. Many of us that are talking in my inner circle, we're saying that she may, but since the hearing and the custody battle is simply focused on my niece, we're just uncertain. Should she? Yes. Will she? We have no clue what the judge is going to do about the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
Them other kids. She got. Let me think. She has 9 kids, right? Or 8,
well,
7, 8 kids, something like that. Something crazy, right?
Something like that. Yeah, something crazy.
Okay, so wait, it's 4 of them kids, right? And then there's 3 more, and yeah, so it's 7 kids. No,
I think it's 6. So it's Josiah, Mariah, Zechariah, Celia, Junior, Malachi. 6 kids.
Okay. So it's 6 kids. How many different baby daddies is it?
At least 3 or 4. 3 or 4 babies daddies.
Sheesh.
Oh, 4. It's 4. I just counted.
It's 4. So out of the 4, all of them are losers, right? So they like all of them just don't care.
Yeah, none of them are in the kids' lives. What's the young lady's name, Donnie? So I can address her right.
Bianca.
So Bianca. So 3 of those 6 kids are my brother's kids. So they're my blood, nieces and nephews. So when you asked earlier, is she losing any of the other kids? She already lost them because I went there with the police and I removed my 3 blood nieces and nephews. And that was in August 2020. We're now in April 2021. They have not seen, talked to, or been around their mother since then. Now that's mainly her doing. but that's because they ratted her out to CPS. So she has lost 3 of the 6.
Wow. Well, I think that it's most unfortunate that some people get to the point where the relationship that they're so committed to is more important than their commitment to their children, especially when they know that their children are being abused. That's really foul to me. Um, I don't know if you all are familiar with Alexis K. Tyler, but she did a video many, many years ago. It's been removed from YouTube since because all of her videos were removed. She's a nut, but she be talking some shit. But she spoke about this probably about 16 years ago. And she called these women and men like this hybrid nigga bitches. She said we need to be very careful of them. They are not like us. Hey, listen, they are not like us. They do not have the same moral compass. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, or just all, everybody ain't cut from the same cloth. So you got to really watch these children right now because they're preying on kids just like they're preying on your wallets and everything else. I think it's crazy. But yeah, hybrid nigga bitches, that's what I call them.
That's accurate.
Yeah, you don't know where they came from.
Stoic says she should face pro shit. I'm about to be bad.
Stoic, I'm trying to figure out how to go that route. Once I get custody, first thing I'm going to do, and this will be all you guys' first time hearing this, I want to figure out how to put out an order of protection against the mom's boyfriend and his 3 sons to keep them away from my niece, just in case my niece's mom gets supervised visits or visitations in general. I don't want them coming around my niece based on what's happening, and I want to figure out how to maybe pursue criminal charges because she's a victim. Again, the court-appointed investigator has supported my claim. It'd be one thing if she told the judge, Mr. Morell's claims are unsubstantiated. We can't find evidence of this. She told the judge, looking the judge in the eye, this little girl is a repeat victim of sexual misconduct and sexual assault. It has continued happening and will continue to happen. She needs to be placed back with Mr. Morell right away. So that right there substantiates my claim in that the investigator found that what I said was true. So I do want to figure out how to do criminal charges, if that's even possible. The other part of me is saying, do I just leave it alone once I get her and just focus on her and her counseling and just let all of that dust settle? I mean, Bianca, what would you recommend? Do I pursue that or do I leave it alone?
I think you should pursue criminal charges against whomever violated her. And I say that because one thing about women that go through these types of situations, a lot of times people don't stand in the gap for us. They don't come through as our knight in shining armors and our protectors and fight for us. So I think it would be good for her to see that as well as her therapy, that, you were like, nah, fuck that. We're going to do something about this. Like, this is not okay with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So that she knows that that's not okay, because a lot of times with women, they're abused multiple times because they don't know that it wasn't supposed to happen because no one stood up for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, well, maybe it was okay, or they blame themselves. It's just like all these psychological things that go through your mind. So I would say absolutely. Um, Her mother is probably going to go through enough, despite whatever you may do with her.
Okay.
Okay, so I just came back in. So I know you asked about the criminal charges. Would you say your mother's gonna go through enough?
Oh, yeah, I think this is just the beginning of some serious destroying and rebuilding in her life.
Agreed.
So this is the beginning of her tower falling, and she's gonna have to put herself back together. And it may happen, and it may not happen. It may not happen on your time. You know what I'm saying? But you just gotta allow it to be what it is, so that she can learn from this shit. Because she got too many kids to be walking around here being all willy nilly and loose with her children.
Yeah,
Gotta be
fuck
more
that. Listen,
responsible with your
we can hire
children.
a team of crackheads to go whip her ass.
Man, shut up, Donnie.
We can get about $15-$25 together. You know what I'm saying? What is that? That's 5 crackheads right there. And you know, they put in some work.
Oh
I
man,
can't
don't take
deal.
Not
No.
like real talk. She need her ass beat. That's just what it is. My thing is, if there's not going to be no criminal charges for her, I don't foresee any judge, law enforcement going and tackling and taking her to court, and she really facing some criminal charges. Even if you could prove that she knew what the fuck she was doing, I don't see that happening to her, right? So in cases like these, sometimes street justice be the only way to go.
She may get hit with a negligence charge or endangerment, so that's not necessarily all the way out the window.
What they
It's
gonna do?
just,
Give her a fine? What's the
I
negligence
mean,
charge? What do you think?
it depends on the severity of the situation, you know, how they feel like she was complicit or an accomplice to what happened. See, because when they get to talking to him and finding out what happened, you know, you never know what he's gonna say. And then once
good
he
point.
says what he says, then that's going to be a whole nother thing. So this is a process. I don't know. I just know that, you know, we just got to make sure those kids are straight.
And I want to piggyback off that too, because one of the things that the CAA, the court-appointed investigator, told the judge was that, just for those that don't know, my niece's mom is Native American, Black and Native American, but enough Native American that she gets all of the benefits. And so she applied for housing, trying to run to the reservation. And the investigator, lo and behold, and go figure, used to work on the reservation. And whether it's a benefit or not, the investigator was a Black woman. So that, I believe, that plays in my favor. And whether it did or not, I'm grateful that it was a Black investigator. But she told the judge, she said this. I'm gonna say it like I'm her. I used to work on the reservation, and the chances of Rickshawn getting housing within the next 2 years is slim to none. And she said, Your Honor, this is also what I fear from my investigation. If she gets that house on the reservation, she's still going to have the boyfriend's sons at that house. And Your Honor, I could tell you now that that boy will be creeping in Salia's bedroom and still committing sexual assault and misconduct to Salia repeatedly over and over again. Now, I want everyone listening to understand that that's the investigator, not just me. That's an unbiased report going to the judge. The investigator is the judge's eyes and ears of what's going on in the real world. That's what she reported to the judge.
Yeah. So you know, I think they will be shaking in their boots when you get custody of this little girl, because you will have the ability to go down to the police station, to the sheriff, to the local law enforcement agency, and file a report. And granted, it's going to ruin this little boy's life, but rightfully so. You don't get to sexually assault this little girl and think that remember what I said earlier, there's no consequences. So he's going to continue to do it. And when Salia leaves, he's going to continue to do it. It may be another little girl. It may be one of the little girls in the house that he's currently at. It may be some stranger, right? Consequences need to follow. And as a result of, that little boy who's about to get in trouble, they need to run through that entire house, because it was the older nigga, right? The older nigga was touching on the little boys, right?
Right.
So there needs to be an investigation there. I don't understand why, I personally I wouldn't stop there. You know what I mean? There needs to be an investigation on the older boy, and personally, nigga, I'd be calling CPS on a daily basis to check on other kids because you don't know,
I
even
mean,
though
because the thing is,
those
this is a learned behavior. So you have to
right.
understand that this is rooted somewhere. This is coming from the adults. And this is a generational thing. This is something that's happened generation after generation in that family. This is why you have kids doing it to other
Right.
kids. So,
That's what I said earlier because
yeah,
the little boy was 12, and you got to think back to 12. Granted, 14 is a little bit different, but at 12,
yeah.
you weren't you didn't have the wherewithal to know to go kiss a girl on the neck and try to lick her down. That's not something that you learned until later on. So as a 12-year-old, that was something that was done to you. You had seen it done. This is something that you picked up, and I think it's from abuse.
I don't know that this is the boyfriend's child.
The boyfriend's child, and this is why I asked if the boyfriend had there been anything about the boyfriend. Two of the boyfriend's children. One's an older one. He was messing with little boys, so he was doing something homoerotic with them. And this little, the little 14-year-old little nigga was pulling Celia into the bathroom and telling her, shh, hey, B, calm down, chill, relax, hey, relax. And mind you, this is not some chill, relax. That's not 14-year-old conversational. You know what I mean? That's some shit that's learned. This is all
Yeah.
behavior that he's seen somewhere else, or maybe it's happened to him. I don't know, but that's not normal.
And
14. This is
Bianca, I
where you
shared this
start.
earlier. I shared this earlier. You weren't on here to hear this, but given the field you work in, I just want to throw this little tidbit in, and then Donnie let you continue. My niece has a learning disability. Her fluid reasoning score is a 65, and I don't know if it varies from state to state, but here, at least in Arizona, the average low is 85. And as you may or may not know, fluid reasoning deals with the being able to problem solve on the spot, being able to recognize danger, being able to have instincts, act on instinct right away. So as Donnie's sharing that bathroom story, and there were a total of 5 bathroom stories that I had came across. That's why my niece didn't know to scream or call for help or realize, hey, what's happening to me is wrong. I need to get out of the situation. She's not able to think and process like the rest of us are. So I just want to throw that in as Donnie's telling his portion there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's terrible. I and how old is she again? How many years did this go on with her?
Great question. So the first question, she's currently 17 as of February 22nd, 2021. She just turned 17. I learned through enough questioning and talking to my niece that I'm fighting for custody of, as well as her siblings, as I put all the stories together and I put the timeline together. It's been happening since June of 2019, approximately June of 2019. That would place my niece at 15. She turned 16 February 2020. So there's your timeline right there. That's how. So the boy at the time would have been late 12, going on 13 when he started, groping on my niece and filling up her and stuff like that. That he would have been about late 12, and then this pattern continued until he is now presently 14. And the investigator of the court did her investigation January 2021, came to court March 31st of 2021. So we just had a hearing and shared the same conclusions that I was alleging and my niece was alleging that began back in June of 2019. Same results for this whole timeline.
Damn. Hey. I just I'm grateful that you were there because a lot of these situations don't go like this. Um, so for her to be able to say that someone was there for her in the future I just thank you for that.
Yeah, and I just can't. I cried a lot. I cried in court. try not to cry now. You know, when I talk to Donnie, you know, one on one, and even here, I try not to cry. My eyes are watering up because I will do anything for my niece. And like I said, she's not blood related, but my brother was married to her mom for 5 years, so she knows us all as uncles and aunties and grandma and grandpa, and she stayed in our home throughout the total capacity of maybe 15 years. So even hearing you, you know, give those things like that, it's making me ball up because every Donnie's a parent, so I know he knows. Every parent, yeah, I heard you talking about your daughter. Every parent ought to have this fight and this drive that I have. And just think, y'all, this ain't even my daughter. How much more of a fight would I put up if this was my own daughter? And my wife and I are going to be trying this year to have a kid. But if this was my daughter, and this is just my niece, and I'm fighting this hard.
Well, I
Family.
also think it's a wonderful thing. And I actually I want to ask Bianca a question because my only concern is with, do you think the fact that he's not biologically connected to the girl is gonna throw any kind of this any kind of way sideways, or should it pretty much be okay?
I mean, what's working in his favor is the fact that she's been staying there. That I think that's working in his favor. Um, I wouldn't put anything out of my mind as far as them trying to pull whatever rabbit out of the hat that they could in regards to their situation, because ultimately, like I said, this is going to be a trickle down thing. So it will affect the other children that she still has. Um, so she's going to, you know, do and say whatever she can to prevent this from happening. Um, so
So this guarantee will affect the other children that she has.
I think it is, because see, the thing is, you have the mandatory reporting clause, and she went to that household and saw the conditions, and if there are more than just the child there that is being affected, that's the mandatory reporting. So if she felt like that strongly about that one child, she feels like that about the rest of the children. So now there's an open investigation. Open investigation leaves you vulnerable to other inspections. So what happens is, it's like, okay, this child was being abused. Your living conditions are terrible. You're in a studio apartment and you have this many children. You have to have this many bedrooms for this many children. These kids can't be in these rooms together, so you have to have them separate, like, because this is sexual abuse. If she can't produce that type of setting for her children, it's a wrap.
And you're very much on point, mainly because I know you work in that field. But I used to be a foster parent. My parents were licensed foster parents, so even relating to how foster care is, you're absolutely on point.
So, you know, there's going to be a lot of things that, I mean, listen, um, I'll just be a little transparent because I feel like transparency is a superpower. I have a family member that lost her child to the system. Um, and they gave her every opportunity to get herself together and create a space that was conducive to raising a child. And every time she came to court, she was just out of order, completely out of order, to the point where it was disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Even it was just ridiculous, um, and made it so to where the family couldn't even really step in because she was lying about how everything was going. Right? So this
Right.
baby is gone, taken, all parental rights stripped, done. Like the final straw, she came to court high, I think. So, and we haven't, I think my cousin knows of where he is, but you know, that's a little boy that is gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
that's crazy.
Yep.
That is gut wrenching.
Yep. I feel it.
So, and this is my little cousin. crazy to me. So if people had been aware, because we're not even the type of family, and Donnie, we're not even the type of family to allow that to take place. But had we known, you know what I'm saying, then we could have taken the necessary steps. But you're lying the whole time talking about he's coming home. He's coming home. Insanity. So I'm telling you, do what you have to do. Because what you can't trust is the bullshit that's going on behind the scenes.
And I think that again too is where the CAA played a huge part. My niece's mom had been saying, "I'm getting housing. I'm getting housing. I have this in order." Me and my daughter share a room. My boyfriend and his son sleep out there in the living room. I mean, just all these lies. And I think the biggest part, also speak to Roger as well, the biggest part that played in my
Wait a minute,
favor.
wait. She said her and her daughter sleep in the bedroom and the boyfriend sleep out on the couch.
That's the lie she's been telling every report, every yep. And me and my family will look at each other and go, "Who does she think she's fooling? You in the room with your boyfriend? Who do you think you're fooling?" And so again, the CAA proved that and told the judge that. And one thing that the CAA said in court, and also had messaged me, because I just messaged her yesterday in my anxiousness to try and get my niece back. She said the judge is fed up and very frustrated that Rickshawn has not achieved the housing that she's been saying she's going to achieve. So I think that's been playing my favor too in getting my niece back. Because I mean, right now as we're talking, guys, I'm setting up my niece's bed right now because I don't have her, but I'm doing this because I know I'm going to get her. If not, I'm putting up a bed for no reason. So that's telling you my faith. I'm putting her bed together right now on this
Absolutely.
show.
Well, I'm gonna give you an early congratulations because I expect it to go your
Hmm.
way, and I really
Thank you.
want to hear that it does go your way.
Thank you.
And I do actually got to dip out, but I appreciate the update, and we looking for more. You know, you got a lot of people invested in what's gonna happen with this girl at this point, so we
Yeah,
definitely want to know.
I'll tell you, Roger. I'll be back, man. I promise you.
yeah. Holler at you
I'll have
later,
a good
Roger.
night.
All right, Roger.
Yeah, a lot of this is tragic. And one of the other things that I feel like was going on here is it's my personal belief that the mother wants the little girl to get pregnant. She wants the little girl to be in a bad position because the mother herself was was a parent at 17, 18 years old. So the little girl, Celia, is 17 years old. And as Born and Rain told us earlier, that well, actually, just say it again. What was the story with the couch?
Oh, with the couch, right?
Yeah.
So after my niece's mom had heard from me and my niece about the sexual allegations and the sexual inappropriateness and the sexual misconduct, whatever you want to term it as. Fast forward just a little bit, she took my niece away from me, and when she got my niece back to that place, one of the first things that my niece's mom did was push the two couches together because all the kids, 9 kids, slept in that 30 square foot tiny living room. She pushed the two couches together, told both my nieces, my blood niece and the niece I'm fighting for custody of, you sleep on this couch. And the other couch that she pushed together to connect with the couch, she told the boy that was groping my niece to sleep right there with the other brother, hit the boy's other brother right behind him. So my nephew calls me because we sent him as a spy. He calls me and says, "My mom just pushed the couches together and told Celia and Ty that they could sleep here." And I said, "Josiah, do something. You need to do something now before I lose it." And he had to push the couches apart and look his mom in the face and said, "That's not how you do things." What type of parent does that?
So take your time, get yourself together, Born. Bianca, I mean, just hearing that story, she done pushed the couches together, put the kids together, so she done made it easier. I mean, what do you take from that?
It sounds to me like she has been abused herself. This is why I say, like, the way this is going to unfold, it might be a whole nother ball game. This is gonna crack some eggs open. You know what I'm saying? Um, because once you start really digging into what's going on, like you're just talking to a few of the kids. Wait till you talk to the rest of the kids. Like you know what I'm saying? And then they're gonna talk to this little boy, and he's gonna tell where he learned this from. Who's encouraging him to do this? Who's taking
Mm,
him in the closet? Okay?
mm.
So this is gonna get heavy.
Yeah, this is tough. This is just the whole situation is just out of control. I think Titan Moore said it earlier. He was like, you know, he can't hear any more of this. This is a tough pill to swallow. And any way you cut it, the mama looked like a complete wackadoo. This little girl needs all the protection and positive vibes and everything that she can get in order to escape this mother, escape the generational curse that her mother's trying to wrap her into. And we salute you, Born, for doing what you're supposed to do. So, I heard you in the background tearing up, but you know, just know it's people rooting for you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna continue to share it. I'm gonna continue to put the word out and let people know that you have your GoFundMe. Here is his GoFundMe. It is in the comments. So again, this man spent about 30,000. He's trying to pay off the lawyer bill now, which he owes another 8,000. Right? Sorry. Yeah, he owes another 8,000. Is that correct?
That's correct. The final bill hasn't been released yet. I know I owe about 3 now, and I figured the next bill's gonna be about 4 to 5 because it was the final hearing. That's about how it rolls.
Yeah. So hey, listen, if you got $1 in your account, drop that dollar off in there. If you don't got it, all right, cool. Share it. Let people know that this situation is occurring, and it's a black man out here doing the right thing, right? There was a number of women who went out for All-Star Weekend to go kick it, and there was an outpour of cash coming into their GoFundMes to get them home for doing some irresponsible shit. There's no reason that this black man who is seeking to protect a young black girl should be out here having to beg people to drop some money into his GoFundMe when All-Star Weekend Thoughts was getting full rides home. It don't make sense. So again, if you got the opportunity to share this and help this man out, I'm begging you, please do so.
And
Um,
every amount helps. I tell people all the time, if it's in your heart to give it. Whatever that amount is, I'm not going to be mad if it's all you have to give because you know, without my wife and I, we're doing 12-hour shifts at Amazon. We're working 412s, so we're hardly ever home. We just got a brand new house, so Celia will have a brand new bedroom. Like I said, right now, I'm a little out of breath because I'm carrying her bed. I'm putting it together right now because we're just waiting on any day now to hear the judge say, you won custody. So whatever you can give, it will help, and Celia will be in a better place, and that's what it's about. A black man is doing what they say black men don't do, and I'm doing it.
I will say, have you gone public like outside of this platform with this, like with the
Yes.
press release and things of that
Well,
nature?
I've utilized Facebook, TikTok, Instagram as far as social media platforms, and then of course this radio show and Roger's show. So I haven't used like the newspaper or the news, but just social media platforms. I've used all of those.
Okay. Um,
Oh, and I've raised about $6,700, all which has already been given to my attorney. So it is working, but just not at the end of the road yet.
okay.
Yeah, I think we really covered the situation. Bianca came on and gave some some good angles and some ways to look at it, and really kind of uncover some stuff. I didn't think she could really get in trouble for this, right? But that makes me feel a little bit better that they have to report this shit, and they got to take a look into her other kids.
Because we were wondering that too, so that does help with that knowledge now. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Listen,
So here,
if they don't, then something is seriously wrong with the system. And listen, I'm not here to tell you that it's not something seriously wrong with the system.
Right.
But if they don't, that's some hellified liability if something else happens. And I don't think that any state wants that, especially with how things, it's a lot of light being shed on how these children are being treated in this country. So, um, especially when it comes to sexual abuse. So that's why I asked about going public.
Okay. I see.
Yes.
yeah, you know what? You probably you maybe use some of the social media platforms that are linked to, like, maybe the radio station, some of
Listen,
the
utilize your network, your 6 degrees of separation, and whoever you can connect to that has the largest platform. That's who
Okay.
you bomb.
Okay.
yeah, and then you run from church to church, so there's no reason you shouldn't be having this conversation with somebody in the church in order to bring this up.
True. That's a good point.
So I
And
would just, consult with my lawyer and, because a lot of times they'll have a little advice on what to say and what not to say, how public they want you to go, especially with you waiting for a decision. But I would say that you're in a good position to go public if you needed to, but I understand where you're at with your case. So I
Right.
think it would be in your best interest to do so. Because you don't have to tell too much, like too many details or whatever, but
Right.
enough to get people involved. So,
yeah, yeah, I like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all wrap this up. Y'all, again, we're gonna go back to the final statement. So, Bianca, you got something to say, and then Rain, I'm gonna let you run it out.
yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. I always do. Great conversation. Definitely something that needs to be talked about more often because it happens a lot more than we talk about it. And we're seeing the outcome. We're seeing how this is turning out because these kids are growing up and they're angry. So they've gone through trauma early. I mean, we just buried a 50-year-old man that went through traumatic experience after traumatic experience, redeemed himself, only to die, and ignorant people throw that trauma right back on his grave. You know what I'm saying? So I really think that like our mindset needs to shift. We need to start holding motherfuckers accountable for being low down hybrid nigga bitches. And yeah, I love everybody.
I do nigga bitches. Rain, go ahead. Say something
So
profound.
just my final thoughts on everything. I want to again thank everyone that's going to be able and willing to sow into the GoFundMe. That GoFundMe, that money does go straight to my attorney. Like I said, my wife and I were working 12-hour shifts at Amazon. We're hardly ever home because we're working so much to make sure we have what we need to keep the attorney fees caught up, to keep the house rent paid. We just moved into a new house, and anything you guys can give, it will help. Don't think too little. You can think as big as you want, but don't think too little, and it will help. If you're a praying person, pray, because if Jesus can't do it, can't nobody do it. And so pray, encourage me, but all in all, know this, because this was more so about an update from when I originally told the story on the Roger Show. The CAA did the investigation. For those that may be joining in late, she did the investigation. She told the judge everything that I had claimed, my niece had claimed, was true. And she told the judge that Celia needs to be placed into my primary care and that I need to have sole custody of her. That is major. Had the CAA not said that, I could have gone ahead and counted this as a loss. But with her saying that, knowing I'm not the biological uncle and I'm not the biological father, knowing that, and the judge asking her, is it detrimental for Celia to remain with her mother? And the CAA saying, yes, it is extremely detrimental if Celia stays with her mother. Understand, guys, I am now here at the finish line. This means victory is a phone call away. And so I checked back with the CAA just a day or two ago. I said, will the judge, normally from your experience, go off of your recommendation and your investigation? And she said, yes. Normally, the judge goes off of what I have concluded. So that, again, is follow-up after the hearing of confidence that I've won this thing. So please donate to the GoFundMe so I can pay off this bill and provide the necessities for Celia when she returns home, and just pick up life where it left off at, and hopefully get her healing, restoration, counseling, and so she can grow up to be that young Black lady that we want her to become, a successful, educated, young Black lady. Those are my final words.
That's beautiful, bro. Like I said before, your GoFundMe is up there. I titled the show "She Needs a Father" because this little girl needs a father, and there's so many other little girls out there, little boys as well, that need a father, that need a Black man in their life to come and show them what guidance and some leadership is, and you're doing just that. So, shout out to you, salute you. You're doing something that you don't even really need to do. This isn't your blood. This isn't your kin. This you didn't even sleep with her mother.
That's right.
This is your brother's stepdaughter.
That's right.
You're taking care of his kids, and you have your own wife. So you're stepping up to the plate when another man is falling short. And again, I salute you for it. It's real commendable that you would do something like this. So now you're spending money out of your pocket to make sure that this little girl has a future. I mean, shit. Shout out to you, bro. Aside from that, I'm gonna go ahead and end the show. Thank you everybody who tuned in. If it's in your heart to give, go ahead, share it at the very least. That's all I'm asking. Thank you, Bianca, for coming on. Thank you, Roger Report, for coming on. As per usual, this was a conversation. I still ain't shit. And guess what? You ain't shit for watches. Y'all have a lovely evening.